We belong to a caste of shoemakers. So those days we had shoemakers, about 40, 50 shoe repairers in our community. Out of those we got something like 10, and out of the 10 we got 4 big ones. And they're still existing. I am the biggest. The others are very good workers. They've very talented members, and they've got good staff as well. But we, being in town, we have created a name through the hotels and also the exposure of town. My grandfather originally came and started the business walking around, literally walking into Cape Town when his uncles called him over from India, and he jumped off from Lawrence of Marks, came through the forest, and then they met by trains and hiking and so forth, but they came into Cape Town and settled here. That was close to about 1904, 1906, and then my father came in at the age of about 12 years, and he came in at 1926, 27 into business at a young age of about 12 and 13. And he left, my grandfather then left him after a couple of years when he was about 16 years old, and left him and went to India. In 1926 he officially came into this business, and my grandfather left forever. But in the interim, my grandfather must have been here into Cape Town in and out for about 3-4 times also. And it's amazing how they strive from virtually totally nothing to what it is. Of course, shoe repairs my grandfather learned from the militaries and all the horse bridle harnesses in India, and he brought the skills down to Cape Town, and my dad picked it up. Likewise, I followed up into business in 1960-61, and the business carried over. So up till today, we must be close to 95 years in existence. The business has been growing from strength to strength. My dad was a real property man. He bought this corner property in 1940s, and he started the name. Then only when my dad came in 1926 into business, he called this business Rocksole Shoes, and when that carried on and over. And in 1950, when he decided to then build a new property, and he sold the corner property to Jackman Science then at £5,000, and he utilized that £5,000 to build the 61 Wells Street then in 1951. And after we lived upstairs, the shop downstairs, the shop was much bigger than what he was, because my dad was in the corner of Wells Street and Butengrove Street, but he was known to be a shoe repairer, working late at night and doing the nailing of shoes, and people admired him for working so hard. And in 1996, we demolished what my dad built in 1951, and in 1996 we built up a new property, consolidated the 61 and 63 Wells Street, and we put up a 4-story building with a lift and what have you. And we then introduced new shoes in 1960s, 61s already, and we then started selling shoes. But the making and repairing of the shoes was always my passion, and learning from the staff. And my dad then had a heart attack in 1960-61. Then I was forced to come into business, and I started taking over a little bit of the repair section with my brother, and we carried on our business until such time from 61, 63 Wells Street. We've come here since 2013. 2013 we came into this property here at 65 Wells Street, where we had everything on one floor, the serving as well as the workshop, and that made it wonderful, where every customer could see the staff working, and they get fascinated. Over the years, what did our parents come to? You know, they came as shoe repairs. They worked very, very hard. They came penniless and they believed in one thing, is to send money to the family in India. The secondly is to educate the children. So with the result, what has happened over the period, the children got educated into different fields other than shoe repairs, and the parents would encourage them not to do shoe repairs because that was the hard labor. Now they become lawyers, they become doctors, they become chartered accountants, and all sorts of profession. So with the result, the profession in their field, they've educated themselves. So the shoe repairs who, like my dad, passed on to us, but with my age, there are only a couple of us, as I said, but then many of those children who qualified, like my one brother-in-law, whose parents, they were in Claremont, he became a pharmacist. So when he's pharmacist, who does the father leave the business to? So the business was closed down, sold off the machines, and he helped his father up till his last age. So life carried on that way. And as I said early on, we were close to about 40 shoe repairs in Cape Town of our community members. So they have waded down to about 10 and 4 big ones. Also what has happened, we have a lot of shoe repairers now on the street, on the pavements. They have their motorized generators and they motorize their little shoe repairs, and they do their shoe repairs. A lot of customers, especially the tourists, has a broken strap or something broken, then they have it repaired while they wait on a pavement. So they've taken quite a bit of business away in that respect, but we wish them well in that era. Everybody is got entitled to do their part of business in life, and we in fact encourage them when they come for buying any articles. They want to buy material, then we would sell them the material. If we don't have it, then we would send them where they can buy the material. But the customers who would like to come to the shop, like Ralph just said, they come to a shop, they wouldn't like to go to a pavement shoe repairer, which is understood. Here we could guarantee our work. We are here all the time to receive if there's a problem and never disappoint a customer. Yeah, Ian, this business in shoe repairs and leather works is never a no-no. You bring a little article, we get customers who spends about 80 rands to 90 rands buying an old leather suitcase on a parade. They would bring it to us. They wanted it repaired and renovated because the stitching is broken. So we would then repair, and we charge them about 300-400 rands, but they would want it done. And we would renew them by polishing with special polish called Tuxen polish. We would then hand stitch it for them and make it look very good, presentable. So a lot of people now are conscious of having their old things repaired. And in particular, it's funny that I have to say that it's so much more popular when the parents die, or particularly a father dies and he's left some items at home in a garage or antique. They would take off and bring a satchel all along. You know, I said, you know, it's going to cost you so much because this is rotten here. We're going to put a new gusset to it. We're going to put a new handle to it. It's going to cost you about 800 rands. And I want it done. It was my father's. He qualified into this and he did his 10 in here and things like that. So with the result, we never say no to anything. And there's people that want certain things done. Binoculars is a very popular thing. I have a binoculars bag here. Then you get them for strap making. They would bring out a camera bag, a camera cover to have repaired. So we say nothing to nothing. With a lot of the leather straps, people bring out leather straps and they want it made. I have exotic leather from ostrich to ostrich legs. Then we have also different colors. Then we make a strap to suit the customer. They become more expensive than getting a leather strap ready-made. But the ready-made strap on a certain watch strap has become much more expensive than what we can do it again. So we are cheaper than buying a new one. The others have to import a leather strap if you want it exact. We can make do with it. We would get a doll, a puppy doll to do. Then we have to strip that puppy doll and turn it inside out and re-stitch it from inside and then close it up again. We even make shoes for a dog shoe, where the dog has had an operation and the leg the paw must stand straight up and they want to have a support for it. Then I would then take a size of the dog's paw and make a mold out of that in a wooden structure. So a replica of the paw in the wood. Once that wooden one is done, then I can make a shoe on there. I still have the pattern of that dog shoes also. But what we do with hats, we got two hat stretchers. We would wet them a little bit on the inside, and if it's too tight, then we would put it into a hat stretcher and extend them. So that hats widening is quite a popular thing. We're not manufacturers. Ideally, we would do a special pair of shoes. We've got the last for it, we've got the know-how for it, but it becomes expensive in terms of 2,000-3,000 rands. We would make a men's shoe. So we've just made a pair of men's shoes. It was a size 15 pair of shoes. So that size you can't buy over the counter, so we had to make it. So we take an old pair of shoes of his replica. We got a last, and we're fortunate to have bought last those years in those sizes. So it's important that I show you what the last. We spoke about the last. Without the last, you can't do shoe repairs. You can't do making a shoe either. It's funny that you ask for tools. The tools never get old. It's the very same tool my dad used 90 years ago. We're still using them. It's a simple thing like a hammer. It's a shoemaker's hammer. It's got a claw on top. It's got and the others has also got a little pointed section on top. Then you get the thinner hammer, which is a longer hammer to get into awkward situations of a lady's heels or so forth. Then you get the pinchers, which is the most important. That pinchers cannot be replicated for a machine. It's got to be a pinchers as a pinchers. So to take off the soles, to pinch off the soles. Then we get the else, and an else is a very unique little tool which pre-holes. We have to use that tool to make a pre-hole into where the stitching will go through. Once you make a hole into with an else, and make multiple holes, and then we get through our thread with a needle through it, and we wrap it around and we tighten it. In those days, we used to do even the soles that was 8 millimeters thick from the soles to the welting. We would hand stitch it by hand, and you used to have use a else, and then we use a special cotton that we used to do not nowadays, but we used to wax them with black wax. We used to use the 10 millimeter, not 10 millimeter, 10 cord special thread, shoemaker's thread, which you can't break, and then for slipping part of it and waterproofing it, we used to use black wax, special black wax, and we would treat it from there. And that was a unique style. Today we don't do nothing as that. The machine has a liquid wax, and it comes through liquid wax. So and the tool for making shoes is called a lasting tool. Those were the types of tools we carried from my dad's time already. Tools were always his passion, as I said, in terms of machinery. Tools was his next. We have tools, and we had to have last. You would never accept a pair of shoes repaired without a last. Every pair of shoes must go into a last, and that is a form. And you bring your shoes in, will be perfect to your fitting. It will never change the size of your shoes because it is lasted. And once you have a lasted, you have to have a lasting tool for it, which is a lasting pinchers. Then we would have tackings to it. Then we would have guns to do the tackings and so forth. And we started then with making little odds and ends. From cobblers, we started making little sandals and so forth because the artwork was there, the machinery, pinchers, hammers, lasting was always there. So we added and added on. But I must say, today we are proud to be what we are. We have established business for 95 years.